Hello again, KSO musicians and potential future KSO musicians. We're going to go over the last excerpt, at least for the first violins, which is the Buckner Symphony No. 7 in E major, first movement, starting at about M for first violin. Second violins I know is a little bit different, and I can't remember now what the violas have. Something in there. Anyway. First of all, I have a correction to issue from the Buckaroo Holiday. Wait, no. From one of the Sibelius excerpts. I should have had it out already. Here it is. If you look at the one from the third movement, and you go down to, this is on the first violin part, measure 253, although I think it's from the second violin part too. Yesterday when I played it, or 2 days ago, whenever it was I recorded that, I played an A flat down there and measured 255. That is an A natural. So in other words, after you have that annoying fourth, you have an actual tritone, which we were kind of talking about. So make sure you don't play that like I did yesterday. Sounds nice, but of course it's a tritone. So anyway, so Buckner. The one thing about Buckner, although there's not just one thing about Buckner, but the main thing is it's helpful to know what instrument he played and how he approaches composition. Because when you look at the music, you're kind of just like, what do I have to hold on to in here? It's just kind of little figures and different keys and all sorts of, seems random, basically. And when you're playing it, just your part alone, it's going to feel random. But there's a good reason why. Buckner in particular, does anybody know what his instrument was? Here, I'll try to play it on here. Oh, that's grand piano. It was not the piano, it was the organ. So he doesn't think of music as being sort of like melody, harmony, blah, blah, blah. If you listen to a lot of organ music, there's a lot of textures kind of being thrown around. And a lot of the times, melodies aren't created from just having one line that kind of just goes. Melodies are created from kind of interspersed parts that kind of create a whole. So if you're playing it and you're like, this just seems random, it kind of is going to feel that way. You won't really get the full picture until you play the full picture with everybody else, of course. So it's good to listen to that movement. It's good to listen to the whole symphony, but I would at least listen to the first movement of the 7th Symphony just to get the feel of the music itself so that you know how to play it. When our task, when we have that kind of music, where we don't just have a melody or we don't just have, you know, like same figure over and over again or something like that, when we have these kind of almost seemingly random parts, we just have to rely on all of our skills as musicians, all the counting, intonation, accidental recognition, making sure you're following the dynamics, blah, blah, blah. And like I said, because we're part of an overall whole, we want to show in this excerpt in particular that we can do that. We can kind of play our role, so to speak. And that gives us a little bit of a difficulty when talking about this one, because there's not really many tips and tricks I can give you with this one. This one really is, we just have to know what it sounds like from beginning to end. It's going to feel a little bit like a sight reading excerpt or something like that. I'm going to play it because I think it'll be helpful to get some of that modulatory craziness in there in your ear. But if we take a look at it, first of all, second violins, I don't think first violins have this. Violas might have this too. You do have kind of a weird accidental sort of symbolage going on sometimes in the part. Here, I'm going to write it right here, where you will have a natural first, and then a flat, or a natural first, and then a sharp. I don't remember which one it is. The reason for that is because, obviously he's modulated a lot, but we start out in E major, which has, of course, 4 sharps. So if we are, wherever that one goes, F, C, G, D, oh, I was right. No, you can't even see that. Boop, there we go, the 4 sharps of E major. So what he's doing is naturalizing one of the sharps first, and then giving an accidental, because technically, when we have those accidentals, they have 2 meanings. When we use them to talk about a specific note, like if I'm talking about this note, I forgot it was on organ. Go into the grand piano. If we have that note, that we can't just call that a C, because it's not. It's in between the C and the D, so we have to call it either a C sharp or a D flat. So the accidentals are used in naming the notes themselves, but they also have a separate meaning, which is play this note up a half step or play this note down a half step. So when you see that natural, what it's telling you is forget the sharp, play this like this. So in other words, just play it like a natural note with just a with a 1/2 step lower. So that might, if you see that, that might get a little bit confusing, but that's just basically what he's doing. He's getting rid of the sharps so he can put the accidental in there. Okay. This one's pretty straightforward, and luckily this one's also not too fast. It's a nice, easy allegro moderato. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'd say about that fast. Right. You gotta count your whole notes and your half notes. And you gotta be careful of those accidentals. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play it, hopefully well. I haven't practiced it up yet to recording this one for my final excerpt. But I'll play at least a little bit of it for you so that you kind of get it in your ear so that you know as you're playing it, you're like, why does this sound so goofy? It's Buckner, basically. Okay, here I go. I'm gonna start right at M. I may stop and talk or I might go through the whole thing. We'll find out. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. D natural. We might come back to talk about that one. Gotta find that F natural. Might have played a B flat by accident, so I'm going to play those last 3 measures. So you want that augmented second in there. Just like that. Let's talk about a couple of things before I play the rest of it. If you take a look, so if you look at my fingerings, they're going to be a little bit weird because, well, the notes themselves are a little bit weird. Luckily, we have those tenuto marks, which means we can put a little space in between each note. So if you need to shift really fast in between each note instead of doing the weird bendy fingerings that I have going on in here, feel free to do that. Just make sure it's clean, right? When we get to a little bit after 240, starts 2 measures after 240, but the real weird stuff starts like about 4 measures after 240, and 244. We get the diminished arpeggio. Actually, that might even be a diminished, that's a diminished 7th. You get a nice diminished arpeggio in there. So make sure as you're playing it, your fingers will have to bend around a little bit. They're not going to be straight fifths all the way across because, of course, the diminished arpeggio, or a diminished 7th chord in this case, is 3 minor thirds stacked on top of each other. Something like that. Actually, it might not be a fully diminished. It might be like a half diminished. Let's see. A flat, F natural, D natural, D. No, it's definitely fully diminished. Never mind. Okay. I'm going to pick it back up 2 after 250, and I'll play it till the end so that we get all the, especially all the flats and stuff like that right here. 250, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Gotta find that F sharp. 1. Find the G sharp. 1, 2, 1. Watch out, that's an A natural on the top. So on and so forth. I'll go ahead and I'll just keep playing. I'm going to come in to 3 after 260. 4 after 260. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 2. 1, and. And that's C. Now this part's probably the hardest one, so I would definitely advise practicing this one, separate bows, all that kind of stuff, because it kind of really goes up there. I'll try to play it. I'm gonna play it a little slow. 1. And I will just say that last part there is just unwieldy. If you notice, we're like way up, and then suddenly we have to go all the way down. What I do there, if you'll see on the fingerings, of course, is I start out on the A string. Luckily, in that measure right before that, this is the last line of that page, the measure right before that, I have a C natural in there. I hold on to that in my ear in order to find it up on the A string. Shift. Shift again. But this is the hard part. You got to reach back a little bit because it's not quite in the position. And then I just throw a 2 over on the G string. So on and so forth. I'll make sure to record all of these so that you have a good model to follow, hopefully, as long as I can play them right. I'll be practicing them and trying to put them all together next week so that you guys will have them here pretty soon so that you have something to kind of follow. If you're practicing, you're wondering if it sounds right, you can listen to mine. Like I said, hopefully I get it right. Also listen to the recordings, just to double check me. All right? Happy practicing. Hopefully I'll see you guys in the fall.